Welcome back to I'm African podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and today I have a great guest. And we are here to talk about hustle culture in African communities. But I feel like what a best guest to have with us. So I will let the guest introduce himself and then we can get into the topic for today because it is going to be very interesting. So, hello.
Hello, hi, how y'all doing? I am excited to be back on the I Am African podcast.
Yes.
I'm not a stranger, so hey, I'm glad to be back. My name is Honore Muyaka. For those of you who are watching me for the first time, but I'm excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? Because I know people would like to know. And also, you're involved in a lot of community activities that would be useful of a lot of people that are watching this podcast.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm a pastor. That's pretty much that. Outside of being a husband and a father.
Okay. But I also feel like you forget sometimes to credit yourself. And guys, this is my cousin. Because I know you and I feel like you're very humble. Sometimes you
Yeah.
sell yourself short. Guys, I'm sitting next to a Billboard charting artist.
Come on, okay.
He never talks about it because that's in your past life, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like you leave that out, and it's
No, I have a concert next week. So,
but you don't really talk about that side of your life.
right, because I don't do it as much as I used to, maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I do have music on iTunes and Spotify and stuff like that. So hey, go check it out. Young Honore on every platform on YouTube. You can watch the music videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's a really cool pastor. He's not one of those that you get scared of, but he's very, very interesting pastor. We get to that in the next episode that we shoot. But so getting to our episode for today, it is hustle culture.
Yes.
Are Africans working too hard? So now my first question for our guest is, why is constant hard work so highly valued in African communities? Why do you think we work so hard and we prefer to work so hard? And when you work really hard, people feel like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. This person is a hard worker.
So two things can be true. We are hardworking people in Africa. That's how we was brought up. That's how we was built. We work hard for everything that we got, But then also the other truth is we work hard because we lack systems in Africa. And so even running a business here, as I run a business, I've had times where I had to work hard when I didn't have a system for that particular business. And I've also had seasons where I've had to work less because the system is working for me. And so I feel like the lack of systems in Africa made us work hard. And so we were just brought up in that way. And so we just have carried that with us. But that's something that we probably have to rewire our brains to utilize more of the system to work for us versus us working as hard as we do. Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like, because when I have this conversation about Africans working so hard, we hear, even when we came to the US, right?
Yeah.
You hear, oh, Africans are harder working, they work harder than African Americans. And like, they try to have these misconceptions about like African Americans, like, oh, they're so lazy. And then Africans are so hardworking. Do you feel like when we hear those things, it puts that extra like pressure on us as Africans? So now we have to work harder so they don't call us lazy as well if we don't work really hard.
No, not really.
Okay.
They know how to work the system. America is a system country. They know how to work the system. They cannot work and still gonna eat. They cannot work and still gonna have a roof over their head because they know how to work the welfare system. They know how to work the food stamp system. There's the American system that we don't catch on to until later. I'm not promoting for us to rely on food stamps and welfare, but there's other systems that are built where they just don't have to work as hard, right? And so for us, since we don't know that system, we feel the pressure of you either work or you don't eat.
Yeah.
But and then also since we are already pre-wired from home in that mindset, we just get in and have to do that. And so it's not too many Africans that when you come to the States, that's just going to show you the system and show you how things work. And you just get in and you have this easy life. And so when you come, you go straight to hard work. By the time you realize, like, yo, I shouldn't be working this hard. What can work for me, right? And so I'm so proud when I see most of our people now, they're opening their own shops, they're opening their own businesses. Now they learn the tax code, how you can write off tax. I've been working with an African entrepreneur who just started a nonprofit organization, and they actually just bought a whole complex building, like 5 big buildings, right? And so they have learned to make the system work for them, and he has been able to employ the other Africans. Now, instead of being in the warehouse the way they will push you to do, now you're working in an office at a nonprofit organization that's, getting all these grants and stuff like that. And they're doing major things in the community, but somebody had to figure out, crack that code, and then bring his people in. And so that's something that we also are lacking, that information when we first come. But it's here.
It is. Things are changing.
And things are changing.
Yeah. So now let me go. I think I'll go back to our parents, right?
Yeah.
African parents. I would say this from experience. My parents are scared of missing work. Like they have PTO, they have sick leave. They like, but they are scared of leaving work. And and in their head, they're like, oh, if I don't go to work, then who's gonna cover my shift? And then in my head, I'm like, that's your manager's job to figure out who's gonna cover your shift. Like it's like they feel bad for missing work.
Yeah, I used to have that issue with my dad as well too. He's very dedicated. Like my dad worked this job for like 15 years straight. Like he was the most perfect attendance person. If he just wasn't sick to the like I gotta go to the hospital, he's going to work. He's going to work. And I never understand that.
Yeah.
I never understand that. But like we have this thing. The only reason I can give it is like coming from Africa.
Yeah.
Majority of the things that we worked on, we owned it, right? If you had a garden or a farm, we own. So when we work at something, we have that mindset of ownership. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you come here where you're working at somebody else's company where you don't own it, but your mindset hasn't shifted that this is not mine. I can clock out at 7 and leave. I'll pick up where I left off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I can use my PTO. Like they'll figure out somebody. I can switch shift with somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so our mindset is now wired that way. That's what I can think of. This might not apply to everyone, but that's the only thing I can think of. Of course, coming from where we come from, majority of things, like I was having this conversation with a friend recently about here, we literally don't own anything, right? We everything is on the loan, the phone is on the loan, the car note, the house. But coming from Africa, we may not have very much, but the little that we have, we own.
Yeah.
And so that mindset of already pre-owning stuff is like, it's too embedded in us. And so we work hard at anything like it was our own.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we rise as, in companies as well. Majority of the Africans, they come here and own a company because we work so hard with that mindset of ownership, because we got to think about it as a CEO or entrepreneur. When you own a company, the person you're trying to put in management, the person you're trying to leave the company with so you can have free time, is the person who show that type of ownership.
Yeah.
And so majority of Africans who work so hard, they rise up in a company, and other people wonder why we rise is because we have that mindset of ownership when we get to working.
Yeah. And then also loyalty, right?
That too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like with the loyalty part, it can be a positive or a negative thing.
Yeah.
It just depends on like how loyal you are. Like people will stay in a job where they're not happy because they want to be loyal to that
prove
job.
Something to that job, to the boss.
Yeah. And so like then you were struggling, but you're being loyal because you feel bad about leaving, or like in terms of our parents, they feel bad about taking off because they feel like, hey, but then when I talk to Americans, they'll say things like, well, that's not my daddy's job, the company. Like, that's not my father's company. Why am I going to be loyal to them? Or this? Why am I going to make myself suffer?
Yeah, because any chance they get, they'll let you go.
They'll literally, they can terminate you effective immediately, but then they'll ask you for a 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
Before you leave.
Yeah. And I have this other take on this, and it might be more of a joke. Majority of Africans, we have not been wired for vacation, for holiday, right? And so we don't understand the thing about PTO being that when you take it off, you can go on a vacation
and still get paid.
And still get paid, that kind of thing. And so like, the one thing that we do use it for, majority of the people that I know at least, every wedding, it doesn't matter what he said. We use our PTO to go to somebody's wedding.
Yeah.
Like we literally save those times so we can go to somebody's wedding. But we have never been wired to rest. Like I might just take a vacation and let PTO work for me while I take vacation. So we have never been wired that way to take a true vacation where you go to a resort somewhere and spend a week or 2 weeks and not be worried about a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen. Well, that's interesting because, and I'm glad you took us to that angle, because the next question is that, when Africans work hard, right?
Yeah.
When they're hustling, they look at that as ambition, right? But then when does that ambition turn into exhaustion and then you burning out?
When does ambition
turn into burnout? Like, when you're working hard, they say that you're ambitious, right?
Yeah.
But how hard do you have to work? And like, you can work hard. To what extent does that hard work now become, all the pressure, struggle, exhaustion, and then you're burning out?
It's so you have to measure everything to know, right? You have to have a system where you measure your goals and have a purpose. When you're just so ambitious and you don't have an end goal, like something you are aiming at, whether it's to make a certain amount of money, your ambition will go past what you need to where you even run yourself into the ground, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have your purpose, you have to measure, okay, have I hit my goal? Now it's time for me to back off. It's time for me to rest. And sometimes when we are so ambitious without a target, without a goal, we can run ourselves into that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have hit your goal, but you're still going because you don't know that you have already hit your goal because you're so ambitious. So have a purpose, have a goal, have something that you're trying to reach. Okay, my goal is to make $80,000 a year, and that way I'll have time for my family or my kids. Then that's just what it is. So when you hit that, when you're on target,
you have to be okay with it.
You have to be okay with it, right? And so sometimes we just don't have goals. We don't have a measuring stick for what we're trying to get.
That is actually a good that's a good answer and like a good way to look at it. And for me, I was thinking about, like, as Africans, we have suffered, right? Like a lot of Africans have struggled and just through life, and the struggles of like living your country, going to different countries, starting over in a country all the world that you have no idea how things work, right? And so now when people are suffering and people are struggling, then you come into a part where now you have to start looking at the successes, right? So it's like, do people feel like suffering equals success? So when you suffer, then you go through the suffering phase, and then you work so hard and you get something, then that is success.
Is that what success?
Do people like associate suffering and success?
Not really. That shouldn't be the measuring stick for success, but I can see why we use it because it shows, once again, it's like, I can see why people would use it, because you kind of get out of one season of your life into the next season, right? Where you are not suffering. So that would seem as success. But then also there is success. That's just success. You have hit your target, whether you were suffering or not. You were successful at that, right? That's just success. You don't have the people who were not born in suffering. They were already born from success. So you can't say they were successul.
And then because they didn't suffer.
Because they didn't suffer. Yeah. Right. But they had a target, right? I'm not struggling, but I have to make X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I have to invest X, Y, Z. And when they hit that target, that was success. So we can't measure success from that. But I can see why we are wired that way, because we're so used to measuring it from suffering to
be making it out of suffering.
Making it out of suffering, right? Because that's just the struggle, just being a part of it. But that shouldn't be the only way we measure success.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I made that comment is because when it comes to like African music, which is something that we're going to talk about later on, but people look at like Wizkid, Burna Boy, and then they compare them to Davido, right? Davido's parent, like uncle, was a politician, and he grew up in the U.S. And so people are like, well, you come from a rich family, so you didn't really have to struggle like a regular artist to make it how far you made it.
Yeah.
But then he would turn back and say, I came from like a really rich family, but I didn't use my family's money to build a name for myself, right? Like I became Davido because I was talented. I became Davido because I was like, you know, I used my talent to build myself to who I am. And he never actually used his family name because of that reason. He didn't want people to look at him and be like, oh, it was because of your family name that you made it. He went by Davido.
But that is one thing and I can't just say African. We have that even with African American here. We have that with everyone. That is a mindset that we have to get out of.
Yeah.
Right? We are all fighting for the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We are all, and when I say that, I mean this way. My daughter, in the future, she would be in a position that we're talking about Davido having a good head start than I did.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm building. That's what I'm working towards. And so then here comes somebody else who would try to shame her for something that I worked hard for to position my child.
Yeah.
Like, that is not right.
Yeah.
That's what the Bible says every good parent leaves an inheritance for their children, right?
Yeah.
So a good parent will position their children. And so we cannot shame somebody because they had good parents to position them. Because if your parents had the same chance, they would do the same thing for you.
Exactly.
And then how would you feel if we had to shame you?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so unfortunately, some of us didn't have that great of positioning to say we had this huge head start, but we can't shame people who their parents did because we're trying to do the same thing for our own kids. I'm pretty sure, let's talk about Whiskey. Let's talk about Benny Boy, right? Yeah. They didn't have the same head start that Davido had, right? But now with the position that they're in, their own kids going to have a better head start.
Correct.
So should somebody be shaming their kids later on in the future, talking about you just because you're a Whiskey's child?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
He worked hard to position his own kids. So you got to look at the generation. So this is Davido's dad in the past, working hard to position Davido here.
Yeah.
This is Whiskey in the future working to position his own kids here. So if we was to level this, you're doing the same thing his dad did.
That's true.
So why we shame him? You know, I think it's something that we just have to get out of because we just have to think of ourselves. You are doing the same thing to position your own children right now for the future.
Absolutely.
So stop shaming somebody else who did right by their children.
Absolutely.
And if I was David, I would use it. Guilt free. I would use it.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. Oh, wow. That was a really good perspective. And I like you bringing in religion in there as well, because Africans are really religious. But when it comes to making points, they wouldn't. But so the next question is, why is resting often misunderstood in African communities? Like if you're resting, like you talked about, like Africans knowing that you have PTO, you have sick time. Like if you're sick, take your sick time and rest. Right? Like rest your body. If you have PTO, go on vacation. But when people do that, then you have Africans that look at that person and say, wow, that person is lazy.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Exactly what you just said. We mistake rest for lazy. They're two different things. The Bible tells us God did all of these things, and then on the Sabbath, what did he do?
He rested.
If God can rest, why can't you?
Okay.
Right? If God can rest, why can't you rest? Right? And sometimes we feel like doing more is more, but sometimes when you rest, you get to do better. Right? When you do better, when you work smarter, you probably can make more than you running yourself into the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Working 7 days a week, still not making ends meet, but being able to rest 2 or 1 day, your mindset is better, your energy is better. You know, you get to spend time with your family.
Yeah.
You get when you have kids, you get to spend time with your kids, your spouse. So you're just much healthier all around. Mentally, you are healthier. Love-wise, you are healthier than to run yourself into the ground. Yeah, resting is important. You need rest.
Yeah.
Not saying be lazy and be just sleeping. You need rest, right? You need rest. Work hard and then rest.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I saw somewhere where someone said, how many of these successful people, like let's say Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, how many times have you seen them on vacation? Their own corporations.
Yeah.
But they take vacation to reset so that when they come back, they have fresh ideas on how to run their company.
Yeah.
So you can be successful.
Yeah. Your pastor keep telling you to bring tithes and come to church, but they take sabbaticals. They go to this thing called sabbatical where pastors take a month or 2 months off and they go and rest and then they come back and like, oh, we got a fresh run. You're excited, but you never took rest, but your pastor did.
Yeah.
Right. You need it. You need it. You know, it just health wise you do need it, but you know, God made it that way. God did not make you to run like a machine. You need rest. That's another thing that in African households, like financial conversations don't happen very often. But if we really had financial conversations like budgeting and stuff like that, then you would really calculate rest into that, because you can see, you know, like we just go every day, but we never really stop to say how much are we spending on the house, how much are we spending on this, and so how much should I work and how much should I get rest. So if we really had those honest conversation and really see where we are, then you know your goal. You know, I can work this much. You know when I can take off, but we don't have that. We don't have that.
You know, I'm guilty for like budgeting but not factoring my like time off. And I feel like when having this conversation, I am having this conversation for myself as well.
Come on.
Because I feel like I can see myself becoming one of those Africans that's like, I feel guilty for taking off time, or like I'll be off and I'm like, wow, I wonder what that person is doing with my work that I was doing. But it's none of my business. That day is my day off, right? And also like, I like you bringing in the finance conversations. We just dropped an episode. If you haven't seen it, go watch Why Africans Don't Talk About Money. Go watch on YouTube. But we talked about like, you know, the lack of conversations around the money. But I like the angle of when you budget, you're able to know exactly what your expenses are. You're able to know how much money you need for those expenses. And then it will help you determine how much work you really need to put in. And when you know that, then you can figure out when you need to rest.
You know how many days you can take off when you can see it.
Exactly.
When you can see it, you know how many days you can take off. But
I really like that. So
but we do fight about money. We never African parents don't fight about some money, but to talk no constructive conversation about it is not gonna happen. We'll fight.
You know, it's funny. That's actually very right. I'm sorry. That really did caught me off guard. There is conversations about money happening. But it's just not
the right conversation.
People fight about money when somebody asks you for money and you say no, then it becomes a problem. And people in Africa are asking you for money and nobody really uses that money in a productive way, and they don't want to hear what you have to say when you try to educate them on how to invest their money in creating something for themselves. That is very interesting. Wow. I'm glad you brought that up. How should success be defined beyond money? So if it's not money, cars, you know, titles that it comes with, I'm rich. What else should we define success?
Purpose.
Ooh, okay.
Purpose. Have a purpose for what you're doing. Right? And when you are fulfilling that purpose of what you're doing, you're successful. Right? If you have a purpose in life, find your purpose in life. Right? What has God called you to do? Has God called you to steward your family? Have God called you to steward a company? Have God called you to steward a podcast? Right? Or whatever that is, if that's your purpose, when you find whatever that is and you do that, when you enjoy what you do while you hitting your targets, you're fulfilling your purpose, that's success to me. Right? There are some people who will never touch millions of dollars, but they're happy because they're fulfilling their purpose. And they are thousandaires. They're not millionaires. But they're happy because every single day they are fulfilling their purpose, and that's success.
Wow, that's a good response. That is a real good response. Come on, Alex. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I really do agree with that. And I feel like in life, sometimes people put themselves in positions where they're just doing things to make ends meet, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they start defining success by, oh, when I buy a car, then I'm considered successful. When I buy a house, then I'm successful. But you also did talk about, when we talked about burning out, right? You talked about setting a goal for yourself.
Yeah.
So you find your purpose in life, you set the goal for yourself. And then when you hit those goals, when you are doing something that you're passionate about, you feel like you're giving back to the community, you are happy with doing what you're doing, then you can say, I am successful in life.
That's success. Right. Right. We want the success that's so big, like, let everybody see me driving a G Wagon coming out of this mansion. But some of do you know the suicide rate of those people right now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But and then there's somebody who just have enough size house, a car that gets them from A to B, and every day they're making impact in the world, and they enjoy doing what they're doing. They're happy about it. When they come home, they don't complain about their job. They're like, "Oh, I've touched so many lives. I did what I had to do, and I'm ready." That's success.
Okay.
That's success.
Okay. And also going, like, just thinking about, like, the last time I was in Africa, right? I interviewed someone in Zambia, and I also interviewed someone in South Africa. And people that watched those episodes, they were like, wow, like, how come these people, when we see Africa, we see like people struggling, blah, blah, blah. But how come these people seem so happy? They barely have anything, but they're always happy. And then in my head, like, now thinking about what you're saying is like, sometimes little is better
It's better. Less is more.
than more.
Yeah, because there's people like my uncle. He have no desire to come to America.
Yeah.
Like, to live in America. He comes here. He's been here. He comes to visit us or whatever. He lives in South Africa. He has a nice home. He pastors a nice church. He come here for vacation as in need. And like, do you want to live here? Like, no, y'all work too hard. Yeah. He said, I live in a country club in Africa. I'm good. I don't have no desire to leave here, but I'll come to visit y'all.
Yeah.
I come for vacation, and then I go back. And yeah, he truly, honestly, have no desire to live here.
Oh, I feel him, because I feel like sometimes I'm the happiest when I'm back in Congo. Like, when I go back and visit, I'm not working, just chilling. Even I told my producer over here, I said, even my vision gets better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wear glasses when I'm in Congo. But as soon as they come back to the US, my glasses have to be on for me to see.
A lot of the stuff here is a business. It's a business. How do you think the people who make glasses here are gonna make money if they don't make sure that we don't see? How are you gonna make sure the people that work, especially at hospital, that we're not, if we don't get sick every night and we don't need the ER, we don't need to, there's a lot of it. The whole thing, the whole overseas world, Western world is an industry as a whole.
Oof. People started learning that during the World Cup too.
Yeah.
The world was able to see a lot of that during the World Cup. And so I can see I can see why you would say that. So, okay, official last question. So, in life, after all this conversation that we had, right? This is just a question to you. And the question to the viewers, feel free to answer this question in the comments. What would success look like for you?
What would success look like for me?
Yeah. Considering everything that we talked about, what would success look like for you?
My immediate family being happy.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
My wife, my daughter, future kids, lack for nothing, right? Be able to do what they need to do when they need to do.
Yeah.
That's success. If I'm able to provide a life that they can do what they want to do when they need to do it, that's success for me. As far as my family is concerned, but then also I'm also a leader, so I lead other people. I have other people. Success looks like me being able to provide a platform or opportunity for other people to do the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
If I'm able to provide 5 families, 10 families, however many families I can provide for, a platform or an opportunity to be able to live the life that they need to live.
Yeah.
Um,
That is success.
yeah, not enabling anybody to handle anything.
Yeah.
But through many different avenues, whether it's through employment, whether it's through me mentoring someone or giving helping somebody develop a business.
Yeah.
And so whatever I can do to help better somebody else's life to also achieve the same thing I'm achieving,
Absolutely.
that's success to me. That means, I've made my impact in the world.
Yeah.
And my family is happy. Yeah, my wife is happy. She can,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Happy wife, happy life.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I agree with happy spouse.
Happy
house.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that one.
Okay.
Happy happiness too, just like she do. I mean, if I'm gonna work hard to make you happy, you gotta be working hard to make me happy too.
Okay. You guys heard that. You guys heard it.
Yeah.
But anyways, for our audience, what would happiness look like for you? What would success look like for you? And I really would like to know that from a lot of different people. I want to know what success would look like for you. And thank you so much for doing what you do for the community. First of all, I feel like you sit here and then you tell us what success will look like, but you're already on that path. Yes, I feel like, with the Bible study community that you have.
Yes.
And also the church that you're going to have in the future.
Yes.
And also the platform that you have. You use it to promote positivity. You on your social media, because I see everything that you post.
Yeah.
It's usually geared towards something positive. Like you will share a message and motivate people to share with other people. And it does brighten people's days sometimes. So yeah, that is something. You're already making an impact. And I feel like you are on your journey to success.
Hey, I'm on my journey. So that's great. Now I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate those words.
Well, anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And I would like to tell our special guest here, thank you for your time. We really appreciate your insight. You appreciate being able to have this conversation with you and hear what you think about this topic. And for everybody out there watching, use this as the conversation starter with you and your family, especially the money part. And also talk about hustling in African communities.
Yeah.
But talk about it in a positive way where it can benefit you and your health and your family members and everybody around you. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is I'm African Podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and we'll see you next time.